welcome to Putting It Bluntly for WWE Crown Jewel 2020. Actually, no, that's not the name. I'll start again. Hello and welcome to Putting It Bluntly for WWE Blood Money. It's that time of the year where some of the richest in the world decide they want to have a little party round at their place, get Vince McMahon to just throw as many whores his way as possible, get him to dance for him, televise it. Fantastic. Oh, and it also helps Vince offset some of that money he's lost from making semi-par fucking programs over the year. But less of that, all the graphics have little sparkly fucking noises on them and we get to see some really nice scenic videos and everything of the city. So we'll just pretend that nothing bad ever happens here. You know, unless you're a journalist that speak up against people, or a wrestling company that want to go home, but they're stuck on the plane on the runway, so let's see what happens this year. Kickoff saw the Usos, Drunky and Jey Uso against Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. The crowd were well behind the Usos, I don't know why. Maybe they don't get the Peacock over there and they have to use the network, which is about 2 or 3 months out of date, so maybe they still think the Usos are faces, I really don't know. Anyway, ignored illegal behaviour aside, the Usos have been doing this long enough now to know when the crowd are behind them and to just go that way with it, so they did. It was a pretty straightforward opening contest to get the crowd warmed up. We saw the Usos splash for the win. We start the main show with Edge and Seth Rollins in a Hell in a Cell match. It's also known as Edge's first big Saudi Arabia payday as well. Then, for some daft reason, they've got camels in the arena right at the start of the ramp next to all the fireworks. I'm guessing people in this area haven't been told no for a while either. Or if they've ever heard that word before, ever. It's bordering on Tony Khan levels of stupidity when it comes to animals in arenas with fireworks and that lot. He's done it a few times, he should know better. I'm not that surprised tonight. They're probably used to the sound of loud noises and bangs, explosions and screaming, so yeah. Anyway, Hell in a Cell, Edge, Seth Rollins, once again. Hopefully it's for the last time. But I'm not going to hold my breath on that. For some reason the crowd started the old Ole Ole chant, which is Sami Zayn / El Generico's old thing. I don't know if they miss him or if it's just something they sing over there. It tickled me anyway. This match, yeah, as you can tell, I'm very distracted from it because we've just seen so much between Seth and Edge already. And with cage matches and cell matches, they just did everything in this one. They left nothing for the rest of the show. We had tables, ladders, chairs. Seth wrapped a chain around his boot at one point and was super kicking Edge, and for some reason Edge didn't die even though he's about 60 now. There are plenty of other matches with plenty of other stipulations and opportunity for weapons and high spots. I don't know why we had to do everything in this first match. It just seemed a bit overdone. So yeah, somehow Seth putting a chain around his boot and super kicking Edge wasn't enough to knock Edge out. Edge reversed the next move a mere 5 seconds later, and then he tried to hit a stomp on Seth, but he missed it for a mile. So Edge has won this feud. He can hopefully ride off into the sunset, and we don't have to see him for ages until the Royal Rumble next year when they just want that bloody Alter Bridge pop. More recently, on Putting It Bluntly, I decided to stop commenting on the adverts during the pay-per-views, but I was interested with what we were going to do here. It seems that WWE, DraftKings and Peacock are the only people that wanted to advertise on this show. Everything else was all in-house adverts like the WWE Network, the Shop Zone, Survivor Series coming up soon, and then tickets for live events. Thought it was worth mentioning. The next match is Mansour against Mustafa Ali, which is like Christopher but just with an M, because they don't want to say Mustafa, because it sounds a bit foreign, I'm guessing. Considering Cole and the commentary team were putting Mansour over as being the hometown hero, the Edge pop before was about 20 times bigger, so I'm guessing they'll just edit that in later so it sounds like everyone went nuts for him. Pretty straightforward match, Mansour won, Ali beat him down afterwards, and then to make the save was a mystery man in a karate gi. This turned out to be Saudi Arabia's silver medalist Tarek Hamedi. I think I got that one right, it was news to me, but people in the crowd knew who he was, and they enjoyed a nice little celebration with the crowd before disappearing. We get an advert for NXT Halloween Havoc on Tuesday, which I'm looking forward to. And then we see what philanthropic adventures WWE are going on this month. It's Susan G Komen time. Which, I like this bit. Titus O'Neil and Natalya are in the ring with some women that have survived breast cancer. We get a nice bit of heat on cancer from the crowd and sympathy for the women, so it's always good. We move on to the Raw Tag Team Championships next with RK Bro against AJ Styles and Omos. The crowd are really there for Orton. It's just RKO chants all the way through. But before that, Riddle decides not to come down to the ramp on his stupid little scooter because he's seen a camel. Well, it's a one-humped camel and it had a different name that Michael Cole was proud as a peacock for knowing. Obviously, he just pulled it out of his fucking arse. Wasn't prepared, but you know what Cole's like. Anyway, Orton's still trying to keep a straight face and not break character. Riddle's just acting like Randy's special little brother that he has to put up with. But they get on with it and they make a fairly decent team now. These guys have wrestled quite a few times before, so there was nothing new to be honest. AJ Styles obviously did most of the work for his team. Every time Omos came into the ring, he'd do 2 or 3 moves, get tired, have that silly smirk on his face where I don't really think he's taking it that seriously. Maybe he needs to get in the ring with Brock or someone just to give him a quick poke in the eye. But then eventually Orton RKO's AJ Styles when Styles went for a phenomenal forearm. He tagged in Riddle who did his floating bro and they won. Simple as, and I hope this feud's done now as well. Becky Lynch cut a pretty good promo backstage with Kevin McCommentator. She's really nailing the arrogant heel persona. She's harnessing Conor McGregor, and I think she's been watching some old tapes on The Rock, so you can only really expect good things. We get some more lovely adverts next with Shop Zone adverts, SmackDown for tomorrow, and a Charlotte Flair promo because she's not on the show, which I don't actually know why. It's interesting. Out of the other women on the roster, she's probably the most well known, just because of the robe and the surname and the music, and I thought she'd be here. So I'm guessing they couldn't make her an offer she wanted to take. Now we move on to the finals of what WWE are calling the Queen's Crown Tournament, which isn't really that. It's not even a Queen of the Ring, it's just a Women's King of the Ring. Yet again, the WWE try and give women something, and it's just an old thing that the men have done for like 20, 30, 40 years, 30 odd years now I think, and the women get to do a tribute act on it. I've said this before and I'll say it again, it's just a condescending pat on the head, and it's really not as progressive as they like to make out. Although, considering the location for this match, it is something. There are quite a few young kids in attendance, young girls as well, so having female role models for them to look at in the ring, I suppose can't be a bad thing. It's better than them putting MTV on and just for shaking everything, because that's what they do on there as well. Because both Dewdrop and Zelina Vega aren't that well known yet, the crowd was rather dead for this match, but Dewdrop did do quite a good job getting the crowd behind her with a comeback, but somehow Vega managed to use her momentum and what little body weight she has to hit the code red. And she won the bloody thing, which I didn't think was going to happen because she'd already had her opportunity to pose with all the Queen outfits on Raw. When we all know she likes little costumed photographs and cosplaying, so yeah. The next match is usually the nostalgia match, but this year it's Goldberg's Promise of Murder / The When in Rome match. Features Goldberg versus Bobby Lashley. For the last few weeks, Goldberg's just been insisting that he's going to commit murder and strangle or stab or something Bobby Lashley. He's just been really getting over the fact that he's going to kill him, or at least try to kill him. When in Rome. The match was no holds barred to facilitate Goldberg's threats, and Lashley took advantage of that by wrapping his fist with a chain at the beginning. Lashley kept Goldberg on the ground for most of it by just battering his leg with a chair, but then eventually put himself through a table when Goldberg moved out of the way. Goldberg hit a spear, then the jackhammer, and then he took his gloves off instead of pinning him. Lashley tried to crawl away, but Goldberg speared him through the barricade, and then he punished him a little bit more, chased him around the arena. As Lashley got to the top of the ramp, Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin turned up to support him with some kendo sticks. They charged at Goldberg. Goldberg took them out very easily, and then he speared Lashley off the ramp and through 3 tables waiting below. This caused Goldberg to get the win, and now he's been put away in a box by top men until we need some more nostalgia. The adverts on the show continue to prove my point as we get a little advert for Survivor Series in a segment I used to call "We've already spent all your money for this pay-per-view, so here's an advert for the next one." And now we move on to Finn Balor versus Xavier Woods for the King of the Ring finals. It was a fairly decent match, but all week we've just had everyone sort of just saying Xavier Woods is winning it, and that's that. Finn Balor hasn't really had a look in. They even had a program on the WWE Network before the Kickoff show, which had Sam Robertson, whatever the scrawny little twat's called, where it just looked like he was doing an impression of Tony Khan booking a bloody tournament in front of his friends. It's an old King of the Ring style thing, with some modern names and some old names, and Xavier Woods ended up winning his little fantasy booking show. So the fact that they just went ahead and gave Xavier this because Kofi's had a belt, Big E's got a belt, and Xavier needed something, I'm not surprised whatsoever. And Finn Balor's just doing whatever. Did we ever get an explanation for why his demon personality just disappeared that time? No, didn't think so. The beef I have with Xavier winning really was just, it was pretty straightforward the way he won. Because a few weeks ago, Kevin McCommentator had been asking Kofi and Xavier what would happen if they fought each other, and they were being a little bit evasive about it. I expected it to be something else there. Maybe it meant so much to Woods that he'd actually turn on his friends, just to get this accomplishment because he feels left behind and left out. But no, straightforward booking. Xavier Woods wins, he's happy as the king. End of. Then we went on to a hard-hitting match between Big E and Drew McIntyre. It started off like a rhino and a buffalo at the zoo, just grappling with each other and headbutting each other and trying to take the other one off the feet. They both showed off the strength and their endurance, taking really bad shots, or hard shots, and the fans were well into it as well. They were very behind Drew McIntyre actually, which I was surprised with. I thought they'd be more into Big E because of the New Day singing and dancing and the marketing that they've been doing, but maybe they're just naturally attracted to a big giant Scotsman with a sword. They both hit each other with pretty much everything. Big E hit the big ending, that got a 2. Drew hit a claymore, that got a 2. And it was about that time that I realised this was the most invested the crowd had been so far, which I was surprised, didn't think it'd be this match. Big E ended up winning once he hit the big ending for a second time, and then they showed a nice bit of mutual respect afterwards. Drew was walking up the ramp, turned around, gave a good old thumbs up, and Big E was in the ring hugging / dry humping his belt. So it seems at least this feud was quite a short one. More philanthropic adventures with WWE's Be a Star campaign? It's strange, they like to advertise all these charitable events that they do, but for some reason other people didn't want to advertise on this show, so they had plenty of extra time to push this stuff. And I know I'm a negative, miserable git for saying it. I will be honest though, the Be a Star stuff's great. From the company's side, it is just a massive pile of disingenuous bullshit and chips. But what they end up doing is beneficial, the superstars involved do a great thing, so it's fine where it is, but I'm just going to make comment on the disingenuous nature of it. And then all the gloating and self-praise and backpacking that goes on just gets a bit much. And now we've got the triple threat for the SmackDown Women's Championship between Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. Becky Lynch especially is well over. The crowd absolutely loved her. Sasha Banks almost, but not quite as much. Bianca Belair's still fairly new, so they're warming to her still. I'd noticed and mentioned a little bit ago about Bianca Belair's Gorilla Press Slam. She's a strong bugger, she really is, but for the Gorilla Press, if you look back to any other time apart from tonight she's done it, she struggles to get from that three-quarter position over her head to the full extension and ends up resting people's stomachs on her head. Thankfully, before she ended up dropping someone on the head, they managed to find a way around it and had Sasha Banks already in the corner and the top turnbuckle, so Bianca got the full extension. She walked to the middle of the ring and then she lost me because she decided to go one-handed. As in, Bianca had one hand holding Sasha Banks up, Sasha Banks had both of her hands steadying herself on the shoulders. It looked like a gymnastics act. It looked fake. I'd normally say that it's very obvious that they're cooperating, but this just looked fake. It looked terrible. Don't do this again, please. As well as that, in typical WWE/triple threat fashion, we just had loads of convoluted spots, which just did look silly. Becky Lynch managed to get the disarmer on both of her opponents at one point, which is just redundant because it just lessens the effect of what you're doing. And then most of the other ones just showed off Bianca Belair's strength, letting her put both of the girls on her back or on her shoulders or whatever, which, yeah, it does look impressive, but again, it looks like everyone's cooperating and it doesn't look like a competition or a contest or a fight. There was a mad scramble at the end where we saw a couple of people's finishes, but then Becky Lynch got the roll-up on Sasha Banks and she even managed to make use of the ropes. So Becky managed to escape by the skin of her teeth and keep her belt, which obviously left Sasha looking disappointed and Bianca looking very frustrated. We've got our last block of adverts now with Peacock just have absolutely zero problem taking that blood money, no problem whatsoever. And then we get another Halloween Havoc advert for Tuesday, a SmackDown advert for Friday, and one last reminder of how philanthropic WWE are, so please don't give us any pushback for being over here and taking all this money and all the things that happen. The main event of the show, which shouldn't have been taken to Saudi Arabia, it should have been given to the home fans. I don't even mean me. I'm obviously not from America, but if you're going to tell a story on a TV station, a network, people turn up at a certain time of a week to keep watching the next bits of it, you can at least pay off with their time frame. Don't just randomly take it off somewhere else. But hey, this is Vince McMahon, we should all be used to it now, but I'll still just keep harping on about it. I will add before I get into the match that the hype package for this was fantastic. WWE do mess up a lot, but the production qualities with some things are just second to none, and the video they used, the score they used, the sound bites they used of Heyman just weaseling, snivelling and everything were just brilliant. It's one of the best they've done in a while. It was a very good main event match. You don't normally see Brock go very competitively with other people. It's normally over quite quickly, but because Roman's just been built so well, it looked like a convincing contest. Paul Heyman was on the outside for the duration, and every time I saw him on the camera, he had a complete straight face. He was not letting any emotions out, which was good really, because a lot of the draw for the match was Heyman's involvement and his reaction and what he was going to do. Roman did manage to fend Brock off for a fair while when they went head to head, but eventually Brock just started suplexing him and it looked quite dire. Brock hit an F5, but Roman kicked out at 2, so Brock decided to hit a second, and the referee was stood right next to them, and you could see the ref bump coming a mile off, but that's what we got. As the ref was down, Heyman had a decision to make. Both Brock and Roman were face down in the ring. Heyman was going to throw the belt to one of them. He couldn't decide who, so he just chucked it in the middle. As they were both fighting for possession of the belt, I thought it was going to rip in two, to be honest. But then one of the Usos came and super kicked Brock. I think there might have been a spear in there from Roman, but he hit Brock with the belt anyway. A new ref slid into the ring and counted to 3, and Roman retained. Heyman walked up the ramp with Reigns and the Usos, and he never showed his hand after all. The crowd enjoyed it, I enjoyed it. It was a good main event. Again, just a shame it was over here and not on our regularly scheduled programming. Right, so that was the end of that. As I've said with a lot of the charity stuff, I don't mean to shit on charity, but when Stephanie McMahon puts out tweets like philanthropy is the future of marketing and it's the way that brands are going to win. I know they weren't her words, she was quoting it from the guy from Twitter. but still, it's hard to take things seriously when that's out there. As I said before, from the company side it's disingenuous, but from the individual talents and what they actually do for people is a good thing. The same goes with the whole Saudi outing in general. I don't for a second begrudge anybody in the crowd enjoying that. There's a lot of young kids in there, like I said, who will look at these superstars and they will see them as heroes and role models. And although I don't think we should necessarily be going over and telling people how to live their lives, you can see the sparkle in some people's eyes, and you can see that it's the sort of thing they want. They want to look up in amazement and think that's going to be me one day. I want to be that guy or that girl. But that doesn't mean Vince should just get to go over and do whatever he wants for however much he wants, and then the talent just have to fucking do backflips. Sometimes wait in planes to get home, sometimes just not want to go over there in general because of personal beliefs, religious beliefs, personal situations. There's a lot of people that have begrudged going or just flat out refused, so it's not like I'm just grumbling for the sake of it. And that's enough out of me for the time being. If you've enjoyed this video, please feel free to like and share it. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can follow me on Twitter, @BluntDamage. Find me on Twitch, Danny Blunt Damage. You can even find me on Ko-fi and buy me a coffee at ko-fi.com/DannyDamage. You can find me on Geeks and Gamers every Monday, where I write another week of wrestling, where I look at all WWE, NXT and AEW shows. And you can find me on dannydamage.co.uk, where I've got a host of other articles, videos and ramblings that you can enjoy at your leisure. Thanks for joining me, take it easy, and I'll see you next time.